I'm continuing my conversation with Illinois Congressman Mike Quigley of Illinois' 5th District. Well, Congressman, we're going to talk about those specific areas, but actually, you run out of time at the end of September, don't you? Doesn't that kind of take priority, the fact that the debt ceiling's about to get blown?
If we don't raise the debt ceiling, all hell breaks loose. Not just the government, right? We're talking about markets, not just here in the United States, but across the world.
But any concern that that will happen? Looks like everybody's playing along.
You still hear this. I mean, the bottom line is, it is a quintessential example of how Speaker Ryan and Mr. McConnell have to come to the middle. They have to come to the Democrats and saying, we need your help to do this, because our far right won't let us accomplish this.
They're saying Democrats won't play at all. It doesn't matter if they reach out because Democrats won't help.
Yeah.
Specifically, I'm talking about health care.
Well, look, for 6 years now, the last 6 years under President Obama, they were in the majority in the House. And we passed resolutions to fund the government. We passed the budget with Democratic support. So when I sat down, when I got sworn in, the very first day in Congress in a special election, Mark Kirk came up to me, Congressman Kirk, and said, everything that gets done in the middle. If Paul Ryan wants something done, all he has to do is come to the middle. On health care, on raising the debt ceiling, on funding the government, you name it.
So was it disheartening for you to hear Speaker Ryan say, oh no, because I think a lot of Democrats thought we beat that battle, we're now going to have a bipartisan effort to just fix the Affordable Care Act as it is. Is it disheartening to hear, no, we're not done yet?
Well, first of all, he said we did our job in the House side, Paul Ryan, right? Well, that's not the way it works. You got to reconcile at some point in time. But he also needs to listen to what McConnell said. McConnell said, let's move on. So at some point in time, I'm hoping during the break or by the end of the break, the two have sat down and said, where do we go from here?
What are we doing?
And if they want to fix the health care law, we'll be there to help. If they want to undermine it, we're not going to help.
I want to briefly mention tomorrow you're sitting down with some stakeholders, some constituents from the 5th District. You got a roundtable on health care going on. What do you expect to learn?
It's always good to be reminded of why the health care law mattered. Where we were before the health care law passed, when we had lifetime caps, when you could be denied coverage for a pre-existing condition, when women paid more, right, for health care than men. Certainly there are things that need to be tweaked, and that's what we're going to hear about tomorrow from the stakeholders and my constituents. But let's talk about how we work together to get this done. If you're going to knock off, I mentioned my Republican friends, 20 million Americans, eliminate funding for Planned Parenthood or go back to the old days, we're not going to help you. There's a way to do this and move forward. You know why it's so important for them? Because it funds everything else they want to do.
I was just going to say, had they repealed it, that's $300 billion that was supposed to pay for the tax reform or the tax cuts coming up. So how does the tax reform, which we heard Speaker Ryan say that's going to be easier, how's it easier?
They've lost their funding mechanism. In the final analysis, a lot of what they wanted to save money for were tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans. This was an extraordinarily cynical attempt. They've lost the first half of that. How do they get to the second half? Frankly, it's up to them. Again, if they want to come to us and do this on a constructive basis, we can provide health care for every American.
Briefly announced this afternoon that Governor Rauner will be signing an immigration bill here in Illinois, protecting immigrants along the lines of what Democrats have been wanting here. Good news from a Republican governor, and what does it mean for you sitting in Washington when you see at least Illinois take a step?
Look, it's good that we can come back to the Trump administration, Republicans in Washington, and say, look, we've got bipartisan support to do the right thing on immigration in Illinois. We need to do this across the country. We passed comprehensive immigration reform out of the Senate 3 years ago. Paul Ryan refused to put it on the floor. We still have the same problems. If they want to get past this notion of building a wall and isolating this country and moving forward together, the way to do it and to take 12 million people out of the darkness and move forward and bolster our economy and our tax base and be the country we think we are, pass comprehensive immigration reform.
Congressman Mike Quigley, Illinois' 5th District. Thank you. You always make time for us, and I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next time I see you, you'll probably be in a hockey uniform.
Always a pleasure.